All right, best of 2019 Reef tank lighting, probably a focus on LED just because that's what most of people are buying these days. So we're gonna look at, again, best means a lot of things to a lot of different people, so we'll look at a bunch of different angles. We're gonna start with what is the #1 most popular LED or lighting option out there, as voted by you guys, by what you're picking up for your tanks, and then
the best, most economical for a 4-foot tank. So 4-foot tank being right in the middle of, you know, those that have very long tanks, those that have smaller tanks. We thought 4-foot would be a good one, and then you could just kind of make those decisions after that. But the most economical to light a 4-foot tank.
Yeah, shortly put, you just can't hit every last option out there. 4-foot super common tanks, we're gonna go with that. But also best 2019 for color and shimmer.
Oh yeah.
And this one might be a surprise actually.
Yeah.
And we actually had to debate that one for a little while.
We did.
And easiest to use, that grows coral. So like, which one can I like almost plug it into the wall and just start producing results? I mean, we're a little bit past that these days, but what is the closest I can get to that where I'm not monkeying around with it trying to become a marine biologist just to set up my light?
Yeah.
So easiest to use. And then what's one that comes after that?
And then we have our, as always with the 2019, the best in show for 2019.
So if you just want to get this like lighting thing behind you, know that you bought the best available option. I'm never going to think about lighting again, or at least till the next coolest thing comes out. That's going to be that one, best in show. And then of course, we're going to finish off with what we would like to see for 2020, what kind of technology advances or form factor advances, what we'd like to see out of the lighting manufacturers of the world for 2020. All right, so starting with the most popular, again, as picked by all of you, the most units sold in 2019. This one actually surprised me.
There was so many of these things that people are picking up, and it was really surprising when you look at all of the options out there. The #1 was the AI Prime.
Yeah, so the AI Prime here was the #1 selling unit, and I guess I shouldn't have been surprised because it's actually one of the lower cost items, and it's also really perfect for options where you have like beginner to intermediate corals, even on like larger 2-foot area tanks, definitely 18 by 18 inches, and you can scale them. So not surprised, but like just behind that, actually like 100 units behind that, which is not that many for all of 2019, was the Kessel A360X.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, another one that both of these actually, and I can see why a lot of people are picking them and why I would pick them is, you know, really it comes to a lot of controllability too. Where out of the box, I can open up my app for the AI Prime and just set it and then walk away.
Right to the light.
Oh yeah. And then with the Kessel, I don't need a controller if I have the option to, but I've got knobs on the top of it, so it's again a set and walk away.
Yeah, they also have now a little dongle that goes on it for Wi-Fi as well as a spectral controller, so you can do it right at the tank. But, so best of 2019, or most popular rather, really we're going to break this up into 2 or 3 ranges.
Yeah.
One which is 50 watt, one that's 90, and one that's over 130.
Yeah.
There's a good reason for that, is because you know, there are different purposes for each one of these lights, and again, like the Prime is super good for a like a beginner to intermediate coral, or like a smaller tank where it doesn't need to be that bright, or to scale or whatnot, but it's much less wattage. Whereas this guy may be twice as expensive, but it's also nearly twice as much wattage as
90
well.
watts, yeah.
So this is where you start to jump into these SPS tanks and higher demand light and whatnot. And I'm just going to tell you, we chose 90 watt because 90 watt is the area where, like, I suggest almost everybody is best served. So 90 watts, and then you space them every 18 to 24 inches or whatnot. You get past that, and all you're really doing is starting to produce like a spotlight in your tank. For most instances, unless you have something super deep or you're gonna mount them really high or whatnot, for most reefers that have common sized tanks out there, 90 watt lights, like the Hydra 26, the Kessel here, the XR15 from Radion.
Right.
Yeah, I think there's one of these, even the max spec lights. There's a whole bunch of 90 watt options. That is the one I actually recommend, and so that's why we're talking about that one today. And the most popular 90 watt option here is the Kessel, and in this case, it beat out all of the other options by more than 50%.
Yeah, for
so
that
this
90
is
watt
what
range.
you guys are voting for, by what all of the reefers out there are picking up in that range. And I think you're going to pick up some reasons as to why that might be a little later as we go through this.
Yeah.
But best of 130 watts.
Yeah,
or more.
130 watts or more, and we kind of broke this one up a little bit further too, in that 130 watts plus, the most popular option that people are that you guys are putting on your tanks really is this Aquatic Life. So I mean, we're talking about the Aquatic Life T5 hybrid fixtures, and when you put all the T5 hybrid fixtures together, this guy is super popular.
Number one.
Yeah,
in that
number
range.
one in that range.
It's a little different because it's T5 wattage and it's a little different.
And then add your own LEDs into it and stuff. But if you're looking for the LED only option in that 130 watt plus range, the most popular in the LED only, the Radion Pro.
Radion Pro, Radion's together actually, but the Radions are absolutely the number one selling in that range, and they're perfect for deeper tanks. They're perfect if you just want to like really pound your corals with light. You're one of those people who wants to hit 600 plus par because you're a super pro, got tons of flow, and you really know how to do this. Then you know, this is perfect for that application. It's good if you have a really wide tank and you want to mount them wide. But one of the differences here is LEDs and the T5s here. Obviously, the 130 watts here is spread out over this entire bulb length. And with this guy, it's coming out of two little pucks right here.
Right.
So like, just be aware of what you're doing. But yeah, so number one, if you're gonna go super high power, more better, horsepower, everything, it is definitely the Radion that everybody out there is picking up. And then number one, again, by leaps and bounds.
Yeah, and number one, and like there's a Pro version, the XR30 Pro, and the XR30 non-Pro version. And when we're talking about how many of these things that you guys are buying and putting on your tanks, 80% of them are the pros. More than, so I mean, if you're looking for, should I get the regular, should I get the pro, almost everybody is choosing the pro option.
So as voted by you guys, 80% pro. And I'll tell you what a lot of people are doing these days actually is kind of considering, this is like 2 pucks, right? And they're kind of considering it when you go to the XR15, which is half the size and 1 puck. They're actually picking up 2 of those, which is about the same cost, and then you get to kind of space it out and get a little bit more flexibility. But like, if you really want the punch, this is it. All right, so most economical option for a 4-foot tank, you know, budget is king, and I want to make this cheap. This is, I'm going to break this up into 2 options. I'm going to tell you right now, this is one of them right here. So for $310, you can light an entire 4-foot tank. Even though it is designed to be a hybrid option, it will actually light the entire tank, be adequate for all your beginner to immediate corals, for all the people out there, and future-proof, right? Yeah. So what else can you do with it in the future?
I mean, like, if I just jumped into a 4-foot tank and I'm just getting my feet wet in corals, and, you know, I've got some of my softies, my polyps, you know, some of my beginner intermediate type corals, I can just get this, knowing that down the road, if I upgrade to more advanced corals, which inevitably I want to do and dive deeper in the hobby, I can add LEDs to it and increase, you know, the par output and start to, you know, get in those par levels at 250 average all through the tank, you know, for some of those more advanced type corals and stuff. So future proof in that I don't have to toss this thing. It's not like just a T5 fixture where it's a bank of T5s, and adding LEDs to it could be an issue, or you know,
difficult.
Yeah, I might just end up throwing the whole thing and start going LEDs. This one, I just add LEDs to my existing light, so I don't like waste the light I already bought.
Yeah, so for those of you who know, this is the Aquatic Life T5 hybrid fixture, and it is originally designed to work with the LEDs you might have already owned or bought, and then add in fill light, or be bought that way to begin with. But it doesn't need to. You can absolutely use it without those things, and the spill will actually fill in the middle because of the way that the reflectors work. But at a later date, especially if you raise it up, at a later date, you can come in and add your LEDs into the middle wherever you want. Now becomes that T5 LED hybrid that everybody loves. It's my favorite. In fact, this is one of the fixtures. If you let me go back there and pick out almost anything for the average tank, I almost always pick this up in a different LED option just because it provides the best performance blend.
Yeah,
So,
and I don't have to spend all my money at once. So like,
$300 up
yeah,
front?
I buy $300 here, and then maybe, you know, a few months or however long down the road, I get enough for an LED, and I throw an LED in, and then I work with that, and then I just, it's incremental budget.
And that's what hobbies do. All right, so if you're looking for the LED only option, it's the Max Spec Razor R5. This guy is $600, and I think one of the best values out there for a 4-foot tank in terms of LED only.
Yeah, I mean, you get 4 50-watt pucks, and they're spread out, so it's not like there's, you know, one spotlight here. I mean, it spreads it out, and it's not 4 feet like you said, but there's legs included on here that will mount it to out to a 48-inch tank. In which case it will fit, and because they're spread out, now I'm hitting those outer edges. Now there might be a foot on one side and a foot on the other that don't get all the direct light from the LEDs, but in most options, like if you were mounting multiples of single puck LEDs or single, you know, like this, like the primes, you're still going to lose that space anyway.
You're not going to mount, this is a 50-watt LED, so this is essentially like 4 of these mounted into one fixture already. I mean, they're different products, but similar ranges. And so you're not going to mount them all the way to the edges anyway, in most cases.
Yeah.
They do make a 4-foot version, and it's a little bit more expensive, has another puck in there. But yeah, for a 4-foot tank, for most people, you're going LED only at $600. For an option that actually is going to produce results and easy to use, this is what I'd pick.
Well, it's economical also in the sense that I don't have to get mounting kits. I don't have to spend a lot of time and effort into mounting this thing. It's got the legs, and I'll tell you, this was one of the easiest legs for me to put on this light. It's a tighten of a screw, slide it in, you know, and I'm ready to go, and I can expand it or contract it for whatever size tank. But now I got to plug it in, and I'm ready.
Yeah, there you go. So yeah, you got legs on here. They're super easy to use. So the average person, actually, we walk around here, and one of the things that you ask people the most important is, how easy is it to install in the tank? Because I don't want to drill my ceiling, I don't want to put brackets on the wall or whatnot. And so having an easy to use mounting bracket right out of the box is super, super important to a lot of people. This fits that bill. Now, in terms of most affordable, I'm just going to go out and say there are tons and tons of ways to buy tanks, and there is no absolute right way.
Right.
We're trying to balance, you know, quality, you know, a little bit of warranty, and you know, for manufacturers that we trust and we know will actually grow corals and like are easy to use, and you know, take the whole blend and put it together to pick what we think is the most affordable. If you want, you can absolutely go out to Alibaba or Amazon or eBay, and there are like what people call black boxes out there, and they are absolutely the cheapest way to get it done. You know, they might take a little bit more effort to set up and use, you know, that kind of depends. But if you're just looking for something out of the box, super easy to set up, this is it. All right, so best of 2019, best color and shimmer. This is one I think is going to catch you all off guard.
This one we heavily debated in your office, and it was, well, who's got the best shimmer? And that one, I mean, you could point to a lot of forums and threads and people and say, who's got the best shimmer? And the answer is usually Kessel. The
Almost
Kessel
always.
3s. Almost always it's Kessel because of the natural type of non-disco-like effect, because they got the single dense matrix array of LEDs, you know, one lens and everything like that. So it makes these really nice caustic lines in the water, this nice shimmer. So I was set on that, in that mindset too. And then you said, go look at this tank and then look at this tank and tell me which one has the best shimmer.
All right, so I'm going to tell you, I've been talking about the Kessel shimmer forever, and for most of those years, I would have told you for sure is the Kessel, and in fact, I will still tell you my favorite shimmer and overall look of any tank is still the Kessel combined with T5s, which kind of softens the shimmer, but it is a little sharp. So you don't see like a static, and you don't see the disco ball effect and all that stuff, but it's kind of a sharper edge that's coming out of that one lens. However, with some of the other approaches where you have tons and tons of LEDs and they're different colors shooting all over the tank, what you'll end up with is being able to see those colors, and they're visually all over, and it's only when you're like really looking for it and you start to see all the colors shooting around. I call it TV static. Other people call it disco ball effect.
Right.
So, but with the Kessel, you don't see it because they're all under one lens. The colors are blended perfectly, and both visually, and I can measure it with a meter. However, visually, the best one is definitely the Radion, whether you go with the XR15 or the XR30. When you put this diffuser lens on it, out of the box, I will say this isn't one of my favorites.
Right.
Because the HIE lenses will shoot colors around the tank. You can see them. The Shimmer is a little disco-y. But when you put this guy on here and you just mount it on the top of it, it's an extra $50. And the diffusion lens here blends all the colors.
Softens it.
Softens it.
Yeah.
So you get thicker caustic lines that are kind of more wavy, look much more like you're snorkeling, and I would say the most appealing. Also, the Radion out of the box has some of the widest color and ability to adjust the color to your desires. So if I have to go, I mean, I think a lot of people would have thought I'd say Kessel. Oops, and I still say Kessel if you are talking about in conjunction with T5s, but if I'm going to go LED only, this is actually visually the most pleasing LED only to my eye option out there.
Now, we're also giving this one the best color as well, right? As long as Shimmer 2 is, and that's because of the most controllability between all of those spectrums that is included underneath that lens.
There are some options out there that have a little wider in some areas or whatnot, but a lot of them lose the ability to control those actual elements. So it's a little bit of a coin flip. But in general, just color and shimmer. If I'm looking at the tank and I just want to appreciate how beautiful it is in my house and I want to go LED only, this is my favorite option. Okay, so up next is best in 2019. Easiest to use that grows corals. That might seem kind of like an odd thing, but most of these kind of leave you to your own devices, like flip some switches and hope for the best.
Yeah,
right?
you know, for a while I always think the easiest to use for, to me that meant that I can actually access it maybe on an app or something and then, run it, and that makes it easy to use because I don't need maybe a third party or an additional type of controller or something. But then when you start thinking about it, it's like, what's even easier than that is something that I can plug in and then be, set it and be done.
This guy right here, right?
Like, that's
this isn't
super
it,
easy.
but yeah, like the old days of T5s and halides, plug it in the wall, I'm done.
Yeah,
like
put it
success.
on a timer. Yeah.
Somebody told me what bulbs to put in it, Blue Plus from ATI, put it in there, boom, done, right? That is easiest to do success. Nowadays, they give you all these sliders, and when you're adjusting for your eye, you have no idea what meets the metabolic or biological needs of an animal that relies on photosynthesis for its health.
Yeah.
And like the different spectrums, especially red, like absolutely inhibit certain biological functions in different ratios. It is not the same thing. And so I will tell you for sure it is valuable, especially for a newer to intermediate reefer and actually advanced reefers too, to have something simple that you can rely on, and then first know for sure this will work, and then adjust from there.
Yeah, and this is absolutely the Kessels. The Kessel A360, the A360Xs, the 160s, there's two things on here, and it's all about the corals from the Kessel logic, but all about my eye for anything else, and it's the knobs. Like, all I have to do is plug this thing in, much like some of the technology like T5 and metal halides. I can plug it in, I can plug it into a timer, and then the knobs, I set my intensity for how bright, and then I set my color for whatever's cool to my eye, because Kessel logic says at any one of these ranges you're going to grow coral, and now I can just make it more blue if I like that or less blue if I don't like it.
So most of you probably heard about Kessel logic before, but I'll give it in two sentences. In the essence that all you're doing is they're giving you the blue peak that really matters, and then the color knob is allowing to add some other spectra in just for visual appeal.
Yeah.
So you always have the blue peak that really matters, and there's probably some adjustments or absolute perfection with the other one, but you'll never fail by adding that in. Anywhere in that range that's visually appealing to you, you'll be fine. The intensity thing is also pretty close to that in the essence that Kessel never got caught up in the what I'd call the par wars for the last decade, right? And it wasn't more power, more better, more wattage, make it more narrow. They were always super wide. Always #1 selling Kessel has been super wide. Getting the light spread out as wide as possible, even intensity. And so at 90 watts, this is one of the reasons that I recommend 90 watts regardless of what brand you pick, is it's hard to overdo it. And so you can't visually measure par with your eye. Your eye's measuring brightness mostly is green, and green doesn't even measure in par. So it's really difficult for the average person. But with this one, it's hard to overdo, and it's really easy to back it off if you're having problems. You'll never put 600 par in there with this thing. So it's optimized for most people's absolute uses, and probably why it's the #1 by over 50% units sold in this range.
Yeah.
So there you go.
So I mean, if I'm new to the reef, new to corals, and I'm looking for a light, and I don't know what I want, but I like LEDs. This is a good place to start for me, in that I am less likely to mess up my tank or burn my corals or do something to my tank with that, since I'm restricted from the control of flipping switches and knobs. I can make this, tune the color to make it look like I want to, and then tune the intensity, and then call it a day. So knobs win.
Yeah, and you don't have a phone to deal with it. You just walk up and do it. You can do it on your phone if you want. You can do it on the little controller right at the tank, which means you don't have to do it on your phone, or you can do it with the knobs, and it's super easy. You will be able to grow coral out of the box without becoming a marine biologist with this light. So next up is Best in Show. All right, so Best in Show for 2019, I'm gonna tell you right now, it isn't any one of these.
No, it's not.
It's actually 2 of them. So Best in Show is absolutely this guy, the Aquatic Life hybrid fixture with the Kessel A360Xs in it. Yeah. This is my personal favorite option. I'll use this in almost every instance because it does almost everything what I would call the best.
Yeah, there was an Investigates where when we first got these Aquatic Life T5 hybrids, when you were testing them, where you went out and said that this, if I could pick anything in that warehouse, and we have access to a lot of stuff, that would be the combo that you go with. And even on your office tank, the SPS tank for the BRSWWC in that E170 tank, that's the combo we went with.
And actually the LPS tank and the Softy tank is this too. And these are all tanks in my office. I want what I want. And so I want it to look nice, and I like the different features of how it performs for myself, so that's what I'm going to use. So in that spirit, this is what I believe that it does the best. So you're going to get the best spread, because these guys are here for a diffused light spread. It's just a blanket of light covering it. You're also going to get the wide angle lenses. It provides a slightly higher intensity light, reflects off the glasses, and now this blanket of light from multiple sources covering everything. Shadows are no longer an issue, specifically if you grow SPS corals like a lot of us do. SPS are defined as frags. They tend to grow into colonies, and they shadow themselves or their neighbor, and then they start to die off. You watch the undersides die off. It's always a problem. So especially, it wasn't really a problem when we were doing banks of T5s and big old halide reflectors. But now with spotlight LEDs, you're going big colonies of SPS. Tends to be a problem unless you have tons and tons and tons of LED modules.
Yeah, so we're talking about using the T5s for that diffused growth light, and then the LEDs for visual appeal. So I get the shimmer and things like that.
So I think a lot of people would think about it like I'm buying T5 or LEDs, and then I'm going to supplement my LEDs with the T5s. I think it's actually the opposite. I'm buying the T5s for growth or metabolic function predominantly, and then I'm going to use the LEDs to add that nice shimmer and like contrasty feel to the tank that looks really good. It's going to add par as well. But really, this is metabolic function, this is visual appeal, and then combined together, really the best. And also, I combine now proven bulbs for growth, which are like the ATI Blue Plus bulbs. People have been using those for decades, like 20 years worth of successful tanks on those things. Even many of the LED modules like design their peaks after that specific thing. And so when I add in the Kessel logic into it, I just got proven super easy to produce results.
Yeah, and when we're talking about the types of corals, like you were talking about SPS, this combination with the 360X and the T5s, I mean, this will work for any of those types of tanks. So if you're in the beginner to getting intermediate corals, if you're into those more advanced corals and things like that, I can simply either turn down my LEDs, for those lower light demand corals, or turn them up or add more LEDs to this because it's expandable for like SPS dominant tanks or things like that.
As I grow, intensity knob. It's
Yeah.
the only thing I'm going to do as I go through different types of corals. So if you want the same thing, but you want to save a little bit of money because these guys are about $450 a piece, you want to save a few bucks, this option with the AI primes also works really, really well. You can do it 2, and then if you want, you can expand to 3 or whatnot, and it will work really, really well. I will say the shimmer, the visual shimmer from the Kessel in this thing is slightly better, but like that is my favorite one. So that is the best in show aquatic life with these guys, and 4-foot tank, 2 of them is absolutely adequate. So what would we like to see for 2020 from Reef Tank Lighting? All right, so desired for 2020 from Reef Tank Lighting, what would you like to see first?
I mean, biggest thing for me is I just like the Kessels, where it doesn't matter where I turn that color knob and I can fiddle with the intensity as I see fit. Rather than just give me the keys to the kingdom and the spectrums and all of this, give me a success mode. Let me plug in my light and say, okay, you have this type of, you have about this size of tank, and you mounted it about this high, then turn it to this or turn it to this. But rather than just here's your light and be success and go ahead, enjoy and be successful with it, tell me how to be successful with it.
I'd like to see this specifically from the most expensive options. Where you're investing in them, I'd like to see them invest in you guys as well. And so yeah, this option is super easy, like the Kessel lighting option. But I'd actually like them to even step it up, and like there's common size tanks out there.
Oh,
like
yeah. 120
super common, a 60, 40 breeder. In that case, if you are running X tank and use this amount of lights and turn the intensity to X, like it is that easy. And the person that's selling it for you can tell you that. They are asking you to do the work. Let's ask them to do a little bit of work. They'll do some work up front, but it'll apply to tens of thousands of people, unless instead of asking tens of thousands of people to do the work on their own. They all know all the par meters. We all know ranges in which the corals will survive. There's no magic matrix in this anymore. Let's give more advice. So this one here, actually, they did a really good job. They did the Coral Labs, and they picked out a spectrum range, emulated actually the Blue Plus range, the AB Plus, and then used it in a coral facility and proved that it works, and then provide that to the universe. So proof's in the pudding, right? But these are really smart lights, man, and the software that goes with it is amongst the best. There is no reason that the engineers over there shouldn't be able to allow you to say, my tank is 4 feet wide by 2 feet wide, and I'm going to use 2 of these, or like, what should I set it at, right? In fact, or just set it automatically for you, right? My tank is this, and it'll just boom, go into it. Like, you want to go aggressive, you want to go safe. In fact, it should probably lock down aggressive as death mode.
Warning and
but
everything.
switching switches is death mode for sure.
Yeah.
So giving you really clear guidance. I'd like to see that out of somebody in the 2020. Somebody step up and say, we've learned enough. We can now give that information to you guys, and give value it for the price point that you're at. If you're at the top end of the price point, give top end value. Just gluing LEDs to a board is not good enough anymore. So that's what one of the things I would love to see for 2020.
Yeah, absolutely. Another thing too is that with all the testing that we've been doing, we've tested almost every single one of these lights, for par and distribution and things like that. We've gone to WWC, we see what they use, for success, and it's a T5 LED combo, and we come up with diffusers and these different types of things. So ultimately, what we're trying to create is like this diffused, even blanket of light throughout the entire tank. which is hard to do with puck style or single points of light. So it's time to, if we want to get rid of or if we want to look at T5s and metal halides and put them in a thing of a past, make an LED that acts and feels like a T5 that I can put onto my tank and get the coverage and the diffusion.
So what we want to do is emulate the successes of the past, and all the successes of the past were blankets of light from a grid of T5s or a giant reflector with a halide bulb, which, if you look at it, 2/3 of the light from that is actually hitting the reflector and bouncing back down the tank.
Yeah.
So the light source is actually this big. So in both of those cases, but with LEDs, if you didn't know any better, small form factor looks pretty appealing. And that's why we have all of these pucks. They, have a bunch of different reasons why, it should be that way. And I will tell you, for an LPS tank, a softy tank, a polyp tank, these are actually my pick. And that's what I pick when on my own softy and polyp tank and my own LPS tank. It's just one of these small pucks. I don't have the same issues. But if I'm going to go into a mixed tank or an SPS tank, I need blanket of light, even coverage. I haven't seen any tanks that are successful long term without either some way addressing all the shadows and dark areas and shadowing each other's and themselves. So it's either like a million little LED modules, or a panel, like the Orphic does a big panel, which is nice, and or plug it in with T5s. And right now, this is actually the most economical way to do it, right? I could buy a ton of LEDs, or I can just use the fill light from the T5s, right? So I would like to see somebody address this, and I got to tell you, it isn't because I like T5 bulbs or T5s. It's just because it's the best available option at the moment, right? So somebody come out with a panel LED that provides that same even coverage over the entire tank. My personal preference would be a fixture that covers the whole thing and provides just a super even coverage. But I'd even be happy with some type of large module that does that. Somebody should come out with that, and it should be diffused, because these things don't actually blend all the individual colors super well. I refuse to look at little colors shooting all over the tank. It's just not visually appealing. And one of the things I say over and over again is you will lose some par by putting the diffuser on there, but you get performance, right? So in my car, I like heat. I like a radio, I like headlights, I like all kinds of things that go performance with my car. And so I want better performance, and I'm willing to sacrifice some of the horsepower from the engine to get better performance and results out of the car or any tool I'm using, in this case too. So when I use the diffuser, it is an engine and functions to distribute all the light, blend the LEDs into one color, and it is worth it for me for sure. Looks better, performs better. The corals definitely appreciate it, especially at lower mounting heights. That's absolutely true. They're not getting blasted with super high peaks of specific spectrums, and it just performs better.
Yeah, and I mean, speaking of that, so we already have these form factors in these LEDs. They're littered in the industry all over the place. So with that, another thing we'd like to see is, more diffuser options. So the Ecotech has gone down that road already. They made diffusers for their XR15s, their XR30s. There's people I've seen, like some aftermarket things that people are doing to add, some sort of diffusion to their lights that exist that aren't those two. So let's just make diffuser options for the lights that already exist out there.
It is absolutely an evolutionary step for lighting. Not everybody wants it. Some people just want more horsepower, or the most horsepower per dollar. Other people want performance, and it's just a different thing, and they'll come at different price points. But I think a lot of people will appreciate seeing a nice, even shimmer in the tank, no little reds and greens shooting all over, no static TV, and just a really nice looking color. And the corals will appreciate not getting blasted with very specific spectrums, like little spectrum laser beams shooting all over. So more diffuser options out of the people out there, I think. I really hope that we see some of this stuff in 2020. Somebody step forward and say it. And I think if somebody went and did all of those things, I think you're going to see somebody say, "Oh, I'd pay for that." And especially in a world where LEDs should be getting cheaper. either one thing, they should get cheaper to match the cheaper stuff, or the quality should come up to maintain that price. It shouldn't just sit there and rest at that. So I really hope to see that. And I gotta tell you, if you wanna see any of the performance data or anything on installing lights, go over to our website, in the lighting category, click on it. Over on the right-hand side of that menu is a little tab, shows the videos, and there's so many videos. I think we got hundreds of videos on lighting alone. Tons of, most of these lights that are sitting in front of us, we have performance data. You can see the par, the spread, the shimmer. We're measuring the spectrum blending, all kinds of the reefiest, geekiest stuff that you could possibly do, and then showing you actually how to use them to produce the results. So head on over to the website, click on the lighting tab, click on the videos, you can watch all of them. If you want to, there's a quick little link right here, and you can follow it and head on over there. We will see you next week with the next BRS Best of 2019.